Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker, what you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess, screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown! I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Clark from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it! Hits it!
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
No, I think this is actually worse over here right now. I tell you, yesterday, Devin did such a great job. I think this is like worse than it was over here. Weird. It's all right, though, man. We're going to get through it on a Friday, I hope. I will say this. I was not fond of yesterday's Pacific Northwest type of weather at all. I mean, it was the final day of July. But today's pretty spectacular. And I'm assuming where Jake has been all afternoon at the Indiana State Fair, where I'm going to be coming up on Saturday night for the JMV takeover. But a day like today, I bet it's spectacular out there. So check that out. Check it out. Downtown is absolutely chock full of Gen Connors. Everywhere. And everywhere there's not a Gen Connor, there's a street that's shut down. That they tell you 5 feet from where it starts to be shut down. Hey, all of a sudden, this road's closed. Thank you. Thank you for the warning. But nah, it is good to see everybody out and about downtown, walking around especially. It is probably going to be extremely difficult for you to get from point A to point B, wherever you're going this afternoon. So I'm going to provide a little bit of advice for you. Just kind of ease back, chill out. Don't let any of this stuff get you down. Listen to the show, be a part of the show. Agree, disagree. Let's make this one hell of a fantastic springboard into what better be for all of us one hell of a weekend. You've got the start of the State Fair. I know things have been hectic for you at home because the kids are going back to school, and all of a sudden this last month and a half pattern you've had of chilling out for the summertime is over. But before everything, before all the wheels come off, I mean, really, before all the sports get underway with school, and then you got football wall to wall before all the wheels really do start to come off. Before they release pumpkin spice latte again, just ease back, chill out, be a part of this show, because we have a hell of a lot to talk about. I am going to help you out on so many different levels. Nate Atkins, he was out at the night practice last night from the Star. He is going to join us. I'll be honest with you, I had a great time. I actually popped and went on to Fox 59 with Hagan after this show yesterday. I absolutely loved the conversation with DeForest Buckner. You know, when we talk to guys that are really good talkers, you always end up wishing that you had more time to talk about just like normalcy of life, right? But DeForest Buckner, if you've missed any of it yesterday, it was outstanding. With the Colts defensive lineman. That podcast, by the way, 1075thefan.com. I thought the presentation and the night practice was well done. I loved it when Hagan and I left and went to hang out a little bit. That was a good time. I love the fact I'm going to be back a week from Monday and then a week from yesterday to do it all over again. And it's funny. I know you mostly get this time of year anywhere. Across the NFL landscape, across anybody football squad landscape. You, for the most part, are going to get all that sunshine blown up your rear end about how this team is great and your team is great. If it was bad a year ago, whatever. Hope kind of springs eternal. Thank you, James, for that. With your favorite team. And while there are still many questions about this group, and simply put, we are going to be unavailable to have significant answers until, as I've mentioned, things get real. I thought yesterday was good. Well, yesterday was good. James Boyd's going to join me from The Athletic in the morning show at the bottom of the hour, and we're going to go over exactly what he witnessed. I really did. It went through quickly, and it seemed as seamless and really to the point of what DeForest Buckner was talking about. He made note a couple of different times of the connectivity or the cohesion of this team. Especially when we talked about the new defensive coordinator and how, there wasn't a wasted moment anywhere. And that's kind of what it felt like last night. Hell, I don't know how any of this, if at all, positively will translate to the regular season. You know what? It probably won't. I have zero idea. But it is good to see that, because the alternative is if you stink and we end up sitting here and talking about how everything stinks. I'll give you a great example of that. It's nice that, according to those that stand out there and log catches and every play and all that A.D. Mitchell has turned a corner for the better and looked much better than he did earlier this week. If you remember earlier this week, people had promos and there's ripping him, and you can't trust this guy. This guy hasn't looked good whatsoever. So the past couple of practices, he has looked better, and that's good because that's the alternative. Pissing and moaning about training camp practices is not good and never leads to anything solid. The only thing possibly it can lead to is just maybe everybody that's writing that crap down ends up being inaccurate. But when you don't have anything good to talk about, that is the worst case scenario. This may not, if you're playing well or you're in the eyes of those that are evaluating you playing well, there's no real feature to test that until things actually count. But the alternative is what you had earlier this week with a wide receiver that has tongs instead of hands. Much better the past couple of days with that discussion. And I thought much better last night. James Boyd's going to join us coming up at the bottom of the hour. We will discuss that. I'm sure talk about the fever a little bit, the fever on the road in Dallas. I gave you my thoughts regarding Caitlin Clark still being gone and Aaliyah Boston asserting herself even more. And when I mean by more, I mean more consistently in that assertion. We'll talk to James Boyd at the bottom of the hour. I mentioned Nate Atkins of the Star coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Hey, yesterday's show, if you missed any of it, including our conversation, it was a long form with DeForest Buckner. That podcast is at 1075thefan.com. BT asked me if I am not at the Dairy Bar today. I am not. I'm going to be out there a week from tomorrow for the JMV takeover. But I will say this. It sounds like a hell of a time. None of it is on my dietary list right now, but it sounds like a hell of a time. I was also met with this a little bit earlier, and clearly I think this was an article in CNN, James, and my friend Greg sent this to me. The article is titled, "TikTok Made Cottage Cheese Popular. Now producers are struggling to keep up." Listen, why does TikTok get all that credit? If 2 years ago I brought the spreadability to the forefront, you could not keep Win Schuler's and the cheese spreadability on the shelves around here. We talked it up, and we put it in a frame in the major focus, and people went at it. Now, a year ago, it wasn't around. It was off the radar. But why we couldn't do that with the cottage cheese here? So all of a sudden, TikTok made cottage cheese popular. I think that credit where credit is due. If there is a craze, which is being described in this article by CNN, if there is a craze of cottage cheese, I think your good friend sitting right here before you deserves a little bit of credit for the cottage cheese craze. I am like the Pied Piper of that. Hell, nobody else liked it. You thought it was a garnish. And when it came out there in a dish, you ignored it. Hey, here's your cottage cheese, but wait a minute, they also brought a blooming onion and a plate of nachos. You didn't give a damn about the cottage cheese. TikTok? I'm sure as hell not putting raspberries in my cottage cheese either like they're doing on TikTok. I do that bad boy plain. How it was meant to be. So that was a great article to see a little bit earlier today by CNN. TikTok made cottage cheese popular. We all know who had a helper in that one. I mentioned the Fever and the Dallas Wings coming up later on tonight. I mentioned Nate Atkins talks Colts. Of course, next week's going to be a great deal of work in Baltimore leading up to that first preseason game on Thursday. We also have our fan golf outing. I will share with you this incredible information. I do have to get the name here. I have to get the name of the company. And Kevin Bowen, if he's listening right now, or if Michelle Kiefer is listening right now, they know the name of the company. But I've kind of teased this for a while at our golf outing coming up on Thursday. I've wanted them to bring a basketball goal. And there's a local company that can bring a basketball goal in the back of a truck and park it. It's 10 feet, and we can shoot on it. And Kevin Bowen, if you remember, was on the show, and he introduced that to me. Well, I got a sports arousal instantaneously. I mean, I'm jousting, poking eyes out and everything else because I'm so excited about the proposition of maybe having a basketball goal to golf outing and shooting against all of you golfers out there for something on the line. This is not like I want to play basketball with consequences. It's funny. I saw yesterday, and I don't think we've all been a huge fan of Kelvin Sampson, have we? Probably not a lot of fans of Kelvin Sampson. However, we do know this to be true. There are few coaches out there that are better than Kelvin Sampson. Simply put, he is a damn good coach. Now, his time here didn't lead the IU basketball program down a path of prosperity, but he is a damn good coach and certainly one of the best in college basketball, maybe just one of the best in basketball right now in general. But I know how much a lot of you still dislike him. However, he had a long-winded quote about basketball workouts versus actual playing. And I think that popped up on my social media platform late last night, and there is nothing that is more accurate than that. Workouts are great. Hey, yeah, work on your craft, and you get out there by yourself, and there's nobody playing against you, getting your 500 shots in. You're dribbling against that stand-up dummy that doesn't move. It's like me, but it's a dummy, or even dumber than me, I guess. You know what I'm talking about? That stand-up dummy that's got its arms up. You can adjust its arms and you're out there shooting against that, but it's not real competition. It's not real people. Even if you're better than the real people, it's still competition, right? I've always loved playing, and that's probably why I still love playing basketball today. It's funny, I was out there yesterday, and both Matt Conti and DeForest Buckner were talking about the popped calf that I had last month, or actually going back to June now, and they were both saying, well, wait a minute, you're 55, why do you still play? Because I love competition. And part of the competition is I love for there to be consequences. Like, I like playing better when we're playing pickup basketball when there's others waiting, because there's going to be consequences. Not everybody can get on the floor at the same time. You only have 10 out there. So if you have people waiting, you're going to have people coming in. So there's more of a value and consequences on winning and losing. You just don't half-ass it, because if you lose, you're going to go ahead and get to run another game because nobody's coming in. You might have to be on the sideline next. So I love playing and working with basketball with consequences. Always love that. And I don't know if I have it in front of me. I'll find it, and I'll send it back out a little bit later. I thought what Kelvin Sampson had to say about basketball and working in basketball. It has always been a philosophy of mine. It's been a philosophy for those around me, and really it was a philosophy that began with my good friend Mark Barnheiser when he was at Eastern Green back in the day of, all right, I want my young dudes playing against all these old grizzled guys. This is where all this started for me. Because this wasn't happening back when I was in high school. Nobody really gave us that as knowledge and said, you know what, go against the older guys to make you tougher, to make you better. We didn't do that, and I think we felt the consequences of it, which is losing, and that sucks. But letting the younger guys play against the older guys, at least around me, has been a rite of passage for decades. And I'm a firm believer in it. And a part of that is, and the growth of a game, both collectively as a team and individually as a player, is playing against somebody else or others, no matter the level. somebody that's going to play hard, that knows how to play the game, and that you have a certain level of consequences. The competition is great. And believe me, when you lose, sometimes the consequences suck. You got to go over there, sit in the sideline, and if you're me, you're 55 years old, you got all rigor mortis ass stiff. I don't like that. Those consequences stink. But consequences in a game where you're challenged and you're trying to maybe not so much make yourself better, but make others better at a younger age. Man, I thought that was so invaluable, and what Kelvin Sampson had to say about it, no matter if you like the guy or not, I thought was a direct bullseye. I'll send that out a little bit later on and see what you think, especially those that have kids, maybe even those that don't have kids right now, maybe those like me that have gone through it. But I don't think you could be more accurate about it. I'm not suggesting that the individual workout stuff doesn't work, because it is also about repetition. Repetition is a part of a repetition on the jumper from every spot on the floor. But there is a point in time when somebody is going to be D'ing you up, and you're not going to be shooting against absolutely nobody or from some stiff-ass dummy you bought from Dick's Sporting Goods. At some point, it is going to be real. And there is going to be actual competition, somebody that does want to stop you, and there will be consequences with that. I love it. So, again, guys asked me yesterday why I still play. Why I still bother at 55 and worried about popping a calf or an Achilles. Yeah, whatever. I'll play until I'm done, until I'm dead, because it is the competition and the consequences of the part of the competition. That's great. I thought what Kelvin Sampson had to say about today and growing up and becoming experienced and getting better in basketball was right on target. Speaking of which, the Fever and the Wings coming up later on tonight. I think Eddie Garrison said 7:15 for his coverage coming up on the pregame show. You have the Fever and the Wings and Aaliyah Boston, that we brought up yesterday. Aaliyah Boston, I hope that she has found a little bit of a groove. She is really good. Very talented player. Among the most talented around, make no mistake about it. But a high level of consistency, as we saw, especially in that fourth quarter where she took it over. I think she can do it more often than that. I think there are a lot of things that she could adjust to make herself even better. And this is where you hear this all the time. Everybody, listen, and I have been a huge offender of this. Now, I've been called out about it before. I like making fun of NBA officials. However, in recent years, I've slowed that pace down because I've started to understand a little bit more about the aspect and competition of moving on, of forgetting about what just happened and moving on. And especially recently, it's fascinated me. I actually brought that up to Buckner yesterday because he talked about the type of season he had a year ago that he was not proud of. In fact, he was pissed off about it. He didn't like it whatsoever. As Mike Chappell mentioned on the show yesterday, if there's going to be somebody on a list where things didn't go right or didn't play well a year ago, DeForest Buckner would be pretty far down that list. But DeForest was going on his self-evaluation of his individual play and didn't like it. Didn't like what he saw. Didn't like the results or the accomplishment. And you could tell that he is really focused on not being that way, on raising the bar on his game this season. And I think sometimes, in terms of officiating or all these other outside things that are going on, which a year ago with the Colts, that was real, a lot of other stuff that was going on, that you can get swept up in that a little bit. And with Aaliyah Boston in mind, I think sometimes she gets swept up because there is a general understanding in the WNBA that their officials suck, and I mean suck really bad. And they probably do. They probably do. They may be better than you or I, but I don't know how much better they are than you and I. But that's probably true. But the genius part about being an athlete, especially at that level, a professional athlete, which you're listening out that we're not, right? But the genius aspect is it goes beyond your basic athleticism and your skill set. Man, there is a lot that goes on above your shoulders that you have to work through. And part of that is forgetting about the moment that just happened because you can't get that back. Crash Davis said it the best in Bull Durham. And remember, Nuke Lelouch wanted to celebrate. Can you not let me have a moment? The moment's gone. Damn right it is. Both good and bad. The moment's gone. And in her case, I think sometimes she gets caught up in the officiating and why she's not getting the benefit of a whistle. And I think you can compare that to the days when Domas Sabonis was here. And hell, I started that. I used to talk about how he had the worst whistle in the NBA. And early on, when he was a Pacer, he didn't respond to it, didn't react to it. But the more and more it seemed like it was talked about and maybe he soaked it up and it happened to him on the floor, the worse that it got. And then what happens is you are complaining about every single whistle on the floor. It devours your ass. I thought it did that to him when he was here. We made the initial excuses, and he basically took that excuse baton and he ran with it. I think sometimes with Aaliyah Boston, she is way too talented to at times disappear for extended periods of time. Her numbers are still really good. You're going to take her numbers across the board. I just think she can be better. And I think sometimes she gets a little bit caught up in that stuff to where you have to disassociate yourself from it. And that is coming with the whistle, or lack thereof in a lot of cases. Reds a winner. Did you guys watch the way the Reds lost? It was like so Reds last night. They gave up 8 runs in an inning and then tied up by getting 8 runs back in the bottom of that inning and then lose it in extras. They had Nick the Nerd up there yip-yapping about all the accomplishments for the trade deadline, and unfortunately, whatever his name is, Hayes, that came in playing third base. I think he had a home run last night, but at the time, literally Quall's up there yip-yapping to this guy and Barry Larkin, and it wasn't 5 seconds after what he was yip-yapping about one of his acquisitions playing third came out of his mouth, then there was a tremendous 2-base error. It was so Reds. And that loss was so Reds because it gave you hope and it gave you entertainment only to absolutely steel-toe boot kick you right in the sack at the end. That's the Reds. That's why they all walk around as Reds fans in Cincinnati like schleprock with that storm cloud over their head everywhere. It's because stuff like that. Reds do bounce back against the Braves today, win by the final score of 3-2. Major League Baseball across the board. A lot of players in different places. I'm sure we'll talk about that over the course of the afternoon. I mentioned it's going to be James Boyd at the bottom of the hour. We'll talk a little fever and a little bit more about what he witnessed last night at Colts camp and that night practice as they get ready for a week with the Baltimore Ravens. Actually, I should say tomorrow, I think on Sunday, both. They have morning gatherings. I know at least tomorrow they have a morning gathering. We'll talk to James about that. But then next week is going to be a lot of focus on Baltimore. James, at the bottom of the hour, we've got Nate Atkins of the Star, covers the Colts, coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. And Pat Sullivan, hashtag AskPat. I will send out on X what we're playing for. Pat Sullivan's in studio if he can make it here because traffic is going to be ridiculous. Get your questions, hashtag AskPat. My man Matt got in around noon today with a question about a woodpecker, not like Woody Woodpecker, not the instigator. I guess maybe this woodpecker is a bit of an instigator. But hashtag AskPat, your questions for prizes, that is coming up on the horizon in the 4 o'clock hour, so be ready for that. Hey, I'm going to go all the way back to the golf outing next Thursday. We have a basketball goal that is coming. I don't know exactly what you're going to be shooting and then losing against me. I don't know what you're not going to win by shooting against me if you're in the golf outing, but it's going to be something really nice. But you can have, and I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it just yet. We're going to have some sort of shoot-off, I think, at the turn somewhere with everybody that wants to. And then we're going to have, if you beat me, there's going to be you're not going to beat me. But if you were to beat me, let's just say, for example, what happens? Let's just say, for example, if a golf cart runs over my foot and breaks my toe or something, and all of a sudden you get lucky and beat me because I'm out there playing in a boot and shooting in a boot after the golf cart runs over me. If something like that happens, then you're going to win a significant prize. Otherwise, we may just have to have you wave at the prize after you shoot against me and you hit the turn. But the focus on this is to be a part of it because this just added another level of incredible fun to our golf outing, the fan golf outing to benefit Franciscan Health that is coming up on Thursday. Shoot-offs with me. Can you imagine? So, yeah, just make sure that you're aware that you probably are going to lose. But there could be, maybe you get lucky. But be a part of it. It's going to be a blast, I promise. More information on that coming up. Nate Atkins, Pat Sullivan, get your questions in. Hashtag AskPat. But James Boyd, he was at practice last night. He joins us coming up at the bottom of the hour from the Fan Morning Show on The Athletic. Do not go anywhere. The Stream the app. Become a AAA member today. That's AAA.com. A AAA member. And I'm going to give you all the perks and the reasons behind why you need to become a AAA member today. That's the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
face and calls you a I want you to be nice.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Pat Sullivan, hashtag Ask Pat. Get your questions in. Somebody's going to win with hashtag Ask Pat. Pat Sullivan, Sullivan Hardware and Garden. The Home and Garden Show coming up tomorrow morning on 93 WIBC. 4 tickets to Comedy in the Garden at Allisonville. That's with Pat Godwin and James. Free Yeti. Who wants some free Yeti? Hashtag Ask Pat. Get your questions there. We just learned the great news that our golf outing coming up on Thursday, presented by Franciscan Health, Legends in Franklin, begins at 10 a.m., that there is going to be a basketball goal for me to have a shoot-off with you and for you to try to win prizes, which you probably won't win. You can just wave at them when you go by after I beat you in the shooting contest. So you golfers, if you're not already signed up, 1075thefan.com. For that alone, I am laying down the challenge. Next Thursday, Legends in Franklin, the Fan golf outing, 1075thefan.com. Meantime, with the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, he hoops with me occasionally, but also occasionally bails out at the last minute. From the Athletic and the Fan Morning Show, he's our friend James Boyd. Hello, James.
How you doing? Should I just no call, no show when I can't make it, or how does that work?
No, you got to call me. Now, I will say this. If you are locked in by 5 o'clock Saturday, you're locked in. That's normally how it works, unless, like, you break something.
Well, I ain't breaking nothing.
I know, we're hardcore.
I've learned from you that I need to stay healthy.
You got to man it up a little bit right there, and that's okay. But I will tell you, it was an unexcused absence when you, quote, told me you needed to be fresh to cover the Fever game.
This is true. I mean,
that's an
day.
unexcused absence. You ever have one of those in school, James?
No, I ain't never had an unexcused absence because my parents didn't play. I had to go to school no matter what.
The unexcused, but that's okay because we're going to fire it up again on Sunday, as we normally do, and the invite is out there.
All right, live on air. I'll be there Sunday.
There it is. No excuses from James. I don't want any.
I can't. We actually have camp.
I got you. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're going to be at what time is camp?
10 o'clock, unfortunately.
Oh, man, you can't go then, yeah.
I know.
But
I will say I'm glad you're back in action and you're no longer, I guess, hobbling around too much.
I am. I'm feeling good. I think I went out and bought some pink. Somebody asked me whose signature shoe it is, and I got a feeling it's Cameron Brink's.
Okay.
Which on 2 levels, I'm kind of wondering because, I mean, I don't know. Does she play? I think she's injured. Did she get injured?
She just came back, I want to say this week, from tearing her ACL last year. So glad she's back in action. And glad you're back in action, like I said.
Thank you. I look like I wear 2 bottles of Pepto-Bismol on my feet right now. That's what it looks like. So they are comfortable. Hey, I go through Dick's Sporting Goods. I don't care what they look like. If they feel comfortable on my feet, that's what I want to get. And that's kind of the direction. I've never had New Balance basketball shoes before, so that was a first time
for everything.
So we are first time in that. I'll start here before we get to the Colts on the last night practice. So you got the Fever on the road in Dallas. I'd mentioned this regarding Aaliyah Boston. I thought we needed more consistent, higher-level play, which she's really good anyway, but higher-level play that's reminiscent of the way that she took over in the fourth the other night against Phoenix. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. I mean, anytime you can take over like that and, give your team that sort of offensive boost when they needed it the most and really just be dominant. I think that's the word that's coming to mind when Aaliyah Boston is at that level. You're dominant. She's a physical player, has good size in the post, and you saw it when they needed it most. And again, you're beating teams that are good. I think that Phoenix team is very good. And certainly the Fever fans enjoyed that with some of the get back they got against DeWanna Bonner.
Yeah. Yes, funny. Why did so many, I would assume because they're teammates and such, feel that the Fever fans were overboard in booing somebody that clearly, upon arrival, didn't fit, wasn't going to fit, and made it somewhat of a toxic environment around here? Why was it viewed that way? Just because it's a teammate? Because I think to everybody else, it was kind of understandable, the treatment with the boos that she got upon entrance.
Yeah, I appreciate their coach coming out and saying that's part of sports because people, saying, oh, she's a legend and, her first game with the Fever, she moved into third place all the time in the WNBA scoring list. Whoop-de-doo. When you're on the other side, man, it's okay to boo. I feel like, we have kind of overcorrected in some ways with fandom. Now, I'm not saying you should go to games and curse players out or call them out their name or wish bad things upon them, but booing is like nature healing for sports. You need to boo. Booing is fun. So I'm with it. I expect the same thing from Miles Turner when he comes back. And obviously he gave a lot more to the Pacers franchise on the men's side than DeWanna Bonner gave to the Fever. But trust me when I say he will get booed and it'll be fair game.
So James Boyd of the Fan Morning Show on The Athletic. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Let's switch the gears with by the way, the Fever later on tonight in Dallas, 7:15. Eddie Garrison has your coverage here. What'd you witness last night? Because it seems like, and it's always a good thing. I mean, everybody's going to feel fresh and new and nice about the start of a season like this, no matter how bad you end up being. It's, everything. It's hope springs eternal type of situation. But did the Colts in that practice last night give everybody watching reason to actually believe and feel good about this, regardless of there being any tests whatsoever so far?
Yeah, I do think that they gave them a positive outlook for the season and really an ideal outlook if you look at the way Anthony Richardson played and even the way Daniel Jones played under the lights last night. I thought Anthony Richardson, beyond just some of the downfield throws, the deep balls, he was able to make the layups. And that, to me, was the most enticing part of what you saw last night. And Daniel Jones, I mean, is it as wow factor as Anthony Richardson? No. But in certain instances throughout that practice, he was effective moving the ball down the field. And at the end of the day, if you can move the ball down the field, good things happen. So I think both kind of showed their, skills. And I think if I had to pick someone being in the lead right now, JMV, for the quarterback competition, I would give the slight edge to Anthony Richardson.
See, I've been pessimistic all along, believing this is actually a competition. I think there has to be like a canyon of a gap between one or the other for Daniel Jones to ultimately get a start in week number one. But I would agree with you on, right now there's really no reason not to give the football to Anthony Richardson in week one of the season. And I think then it just kind of comes down to whether or not he remains available, right?
Absolutely. And that's the thing. I think the bigger question that all of us have kind of stuck in the back of our minds is, okay, if Anthony Richardson starts, that makes sense. He's the number 4 pick a couple years ago. You would ideally want that guy to be your franchise quarterback. But how short is that leash? If he comes out and the Colts go 0-2 and he's still not passing it efficiently, he's turned the ball over, I mean, all of us, I'll be the jerk that asks the question, hey, Shane, you thinking about Daniel? Because that's the conversation. And it'll be vice versa if Daniel Jones starts the season. It's going to be, hey, you guys haven't played that well as of late. The first rough patch is going to tell us how much they believe in either quarterback. And then, again, I think they're going to start Anthony Richardson because, to your point, JMV, I agree. I don't think Daniel Jones has done anything to separate himself from Anthony. And if you can't separate yourself, they're going to go with the guy that they drafted. However, how long is that leash? Because the first sign of turbulence, we are all going to ask for a new pilot.
Yeah, there's no question about that. So we're going to find out early whether or not just, beyond the accuracy effect, if there is a difference. And I'm not talking about the talent difference or the execution difference. I'm talking about the whole approach and being able to endure and not get swallowed up by certain moments. I think we're going to find that out pretty early.
Absolutely. I mean, when you look at this season, man, a lot of it, again, comes down to quarterback play, execution, and honestly, JMV, can you be boring and win? The Colts have been, not boring for a couple of years now, but for all the wrong reasons. It's like, can you be boring, do all the things that maybe aren't as sexy and get a dub?
It's James Boyd of The Athletic on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Fan Morning Show Monday through Friday, 7 until 10 a.m. here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. I know you guys talked about this a little bit this morning. Man, he's a local product from Cathedral. Makes sense. Very talented player in Terry McLaurin. And people asked me last night when I was out there at Colts camp, if the Colts should have any interest. And, you're thinking about that as, I think, a piece to get a team that's close over the top. So I said no here, even though I like the dude. But I will tell you this, Micah Parsons is completely different for me. Like, if there was any way that this is real with Micah Parsons and he no longer wants to be in Dallas and he wants the hell out of there ASAP and they got to find him a seat or a door someplace else, that to me intrigues me more than anything else would. And again, not that there's any interest whatsoever. It's just with the story that's floating around the NFL right now, if that is something that, besides the quarterback position and consistent play, that is something we haven't seen around here in absolutely forever, and I would 100% be on board.
Absolutely. I think you have to at least, kick the tires a little bit. I think Dallas is going to hang up on every single person who tries to call for Micah Parsons, and he can ask for a trade all he wants to. But after reading through the CBA with Jonathan Taylor, there's just no way out if you're a player who wants to leave and you're still under contract. Like, teams have a lot of resources to keep you there, and I think it's why you don't see, like, a lot of the NBA sort of jumping teams, which is good. It creates parity for the NFL. But, if there is some small part of Jerry Jones and company who would be dumb enough to trade Micah Parsons, then yeah, you kick the tires, and it will cost a lot. It will cost probably 2 first-round picks, a couple players, maybe a third-round pick, whatever the case may be. But 26-year-old elite pass rushers don't become available very often. So I would at least, make them hang up on me, if that makes sense.
Food for thought, and Adam Schefter brought this up. I don't know if you saw this or not. In a comp type of trade, in a situation that was very similar, was Khalil Mack. And the Bears received Khalil Mack. They gave up 2019 first-round pick Josh Jacobs, 2020 first-round pick Damon Arnett, by the way, 2020 sixth-round pick, traded that again, 2020 third-round pick. I'm telling you, this to me is a lot different than any other. This is a game changer for a team that's been searching for a game changer in that capacity for a long time. I'd be interested how interested they would be, to be honest, knowing that. I don't view this like McLaurin or a lot of this other stuff you see. I view this as actually being significant in a change someplace, and especially here.
Absolutely. I mean, again, he is a great player. I want to say it's only like him and maybe Reggie White who started their career with 4 or 5 straight seasons with like 12 sacks in at least, each of those seasons. So he is certainly an elite player. He's being disrespected by his franchise right now, quite honestly with you. But to me, I just hesitate to think about what moves they might make, considering the new ownership, the instability at quarterback. Like, that seems to me to be a move that you would make for Micah Parsons if you're all in on trying to go for a Super Bowl, championship or a Super Bowl title. And right now, no one can tell me with a straight face the Colts are going to be Super Bowl.
No, and that's where we're different. I kind of view that as a move of legitimacy for a team. I view the McLaurin move.
Oh, okay.
I view the McLaurin move of putting a team that's close over the top. I think Parsons is a legitimacy move for a lot of teams, and in this case, a team like the Colts.
To your point, he's also young enough that ideally you would be able to kind of build around him. Obviously, you want to build around a quarterback too, but I kind of forgot just for a second. I mentioned his age, but yeah, he's only 26, and then McLaurin being 30 changes the math a little bit there as well. And so it's something to consider for sure. If I'm Chris Ballard, I'm going to pick up the phone. Like I said, I'm never going to tell myself no. I mean, this is like, you're at the party and you see the beautiful girl.
Yes.
I'm going to at least say something. I mean,
and I think about it this fashion too, in closing with James Boyd here, is when you look at Cincinnati and Lou Anarumo, he had guys getting after the quarterback and then also had a stingy secondary when his defense was at its best. And, again, this would be a move for a team like the Colts because that puts them in the category, to me, of legitimacy. The move for McLaurin is a team that is close and is ready to go to that next level, which the Colts aren't. But this, to me, would be legitimacy. And it would make sense, I think, more to investigate that. Hey, James, you have a fantastic weekend. Great job this week. You and Kevin being out at camp as many times as you were. And we'll check back in and get you back in on a Sunday when you can make it, okay?
Sounds good, man. Yeah, I appreciate you, giving me some grief, man. I feel like that's the big brother love I need every now and then.
It's a rite of passage around here, my friend.
I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, take it easy. James Boyd on the Andy Moore Automotive Group Pylon. You guys agree? McLaurin compared to Parsons, like Parsons is legitimizing a team. McLaurin's putting a team over the top. The Colts need legitimized. That sounds really weird. See if you agree with me. Other side, we'll do that. Nate Atkins, a little bit more on that in the 5 o'clock hour. Hashtag Ask Pat with your questions and free Yeti on the line. Top of the hour, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Pat Sullivan, hashtag Ask Pat's coming up at the top of the hour. James Boyd of The Athletic and the Fan Morning Show. You guys having one hell of an afternoon? Let's have one hell of a weekend together, shall we? I can tell you this, I'm feeling good because after this show, I am going to jet down to our table and I'm going to have a couple of beers with the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fisher. That has not taken place in a couple of months. So if you're in and around our table later on tonight, we'll look for you with the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fisher. I was actually thinking about this last night. Hagan and I were at Colts camp, and he had mentioned that. And I said, you know what, we got to make sure we get Don to our table on a Friday because his time is going to start to be taken here relatively soon. So we'll start that later on tonight with Joe and Ginger on our table down in Parkersville with Don Fisher coming up tonight. That's going to be fun. Jeremiah writes this, JMV, I'm biased, so take this for what it's worth. Parsons is a phenomenal football player that is few and far between. McLaurin is really good, but wide receivers are easier to obtain, especially in the era of NFL games. And Jeremiah, you're 100% accurate. I just think for a team like the Colts that's searching, and I'm just simply putting in legitimacy, a guy like that does it. He does it. And when you think about what Lou Anarumo had with the Bengals when they were good, and clearly they had Joe Burrow and Chase and a great deal of offensive talent, and you still don't know if you're going to have a quarterback that's going to be able to do anything. Understand that. However, Lou Anarumo's defense was at its best in the Bengals. It was not at its best when he didn't have those pieces, but it was when he did, when he had good pressure up front and when he had that good coverage and awareness in the secondary. And the secondary's been addressed. And the Colts have been searching for, since Robert Mathis, somebody to come hard off the edge, somebody that's going to keep you up. I'm not suggesting they're going to be able to do it or they're going to do it, but when you're having a conversation about, and I like Terry McLaurin a great deal, he's a local kid from Cathedral, that is great. But Parsons is a player that legitimizes a bad team. And the Colts are a bad team. Well, they're mediocre. Okay, well, whatever. He legitimizes a mediocre team. McLaurin takes an established good team to its highest level, to its peak. There is, to me, a profound difference as to why the Colts should have interest. You know, if all this is just, and we know it to be true, it's all just court of public opinion negotiation, I'm sure, going on. But let's just say what Micah Parsons is saying on social media, that the bridges are burned. Or in this case, maybe even napalmed. Why not? Why not? That legitimizes what you're doing here. And it may take a little bit of pressure off of what's not been going on offensively as well. That, to me, is a vision. And it's a vision that, at the very least, if there is any truth to this bickering in social media that's going on. We're literally one-sided bickering right now with Micah Parsons. I would investigate that so fast, if I were the Colts, it'd make your head spin. I would. And everybody else that wants to be legitimate is going to do the same damn thing. But if I'm the Colts, man, I am jumping into that pool like I'm going to do on Sunday at Paradise Day Watson's. Pat Sullivan's waiting in the wings right there. Would you rather be described as waiting in the wings or waiting on deck?
Whatever you prefer. I'm
on
fine.
Deck, the on-deck hitter, warming up, Pat Sullivan.
You know the term, you just said it, make your head spin?
Yes.
My mom, I used to thought she was saying make your head swim.
Swim?
Yeah.
Spin.
Like she was going to hit me so hard that my head was going to swim.
And that's not.
So I didn't really understand.
That's not an Exorcist reference either. It was long before the Exorcist.
Yeah.
Quick break. We shall come back. I think a lot of people agree with me on this, which may be a major first for this show. Hour 2 includes a start with hashtag Ask Pat. Who wants the free Yeti? Who wants the comedy tickets? That and more. If your question is read on the air, or better yet, you get on the air. Hashtag Ask Pat, 239-1070. The show is back after this on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Possibly be any dumber. You go and do something like this and totally redeem yourself.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, welcome back. Gen Con's going on downtown. We pry our friend Pat Sullivan away.
So I was
from the Wizards of War display.
Yes, a couple of the Wizards, when I came in on Washington Street, we have the steam. We do steam heat, so we got all the steam coming out of the manhole cover, and two of them, the Wizards, were standing out in the middle of the street while one guy had the steam going around him, and the other guy was taking his photo.
I don't know if
because they're our guests, I kindly waited for them to get done and out of the middle of the street, but I didn't honk or anything.
I don't know if this is real or not, and this is certainly not political because I'm non-political, as everybody knows. But so many of these dudes down there kind of look like Micah Beckwith. Is there a reason behind that? What is he, the lieutenant governor?
Yeah.
Kind of a pain in the ass, too.
I think he was the guy that nobody wanted. But somehow,
was he?
Yeah.
Oh, how did he get in there then? Somebody must have wanted him if he's there. Did he just walk in the door and not leave, or what?
Well, the governor and I'm not very political either, but as I recall, the governor selected someone else. And,
he did.
The Republicans went ahead and voted him in.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
It's but like they all have like the red cheeks, like he has, like perpetual red cheeks.
Yeah, I don't know.
What is that?
I don't know a whole lot.
That's
about
not Propecia. That's something about your hair. What is that called? Felicia or something?
It's because
when you have rosea. That's when you have perpetual red cheeks.
Rosetta, something like that.
You're always very surprised by something. Hey, I'm surprised. What is it called, James?
I think it's rosacea.
Rosacea.
Okay.
Rosetta's the stone where you learn different languages.
I believe I was the closest.
Scott Fisher. Who's that? Who's Scott Fisher and Mark Tedin? Mark, Tedin. It says, this year we are excited, this Gen Con and Indy, to highlight the exceptional work of Mark Tedden and Scott Fisher. Get to know these remarkable individuals, marvel at their captivating creations, and visit the exhibits during Gen Con from the 31st of July
I think
through
that's
August
Don's
3rd.
son.
Scott Fisher is. He's the head coach of Edgewood.
Yeah.
Yes. The Edgewood Mustangs. I'm going to go see Don just a little bit. Our table.
Oh, is
throw
that right?
back some beers down in Bargersville. Yeah. True story.
How much does a beer cost in
You got to
Bargersville?
go sometime. I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah.
Probably $6 or so for a little Michelob Ultra, 90-calorie beer because I'm watching my figure.
Hey, did you see Brian Wilkes from Fox 59 yesterday?
Out there?
No, anywhere.
No, I did not. Did he?
I was flying in from Orlando. And
traditional suspenders on?
Well, no, but I was. We were in Orlando for a conference, and he texted me and said, "Dude, how much did JMV lose?" He said he looks only like the J of JMV.
Oh, I was on with Chris Hagan last
is that
night.
what it
I
was?
was at a Colts camp, and I did a hit with Chris Hagan.
Oh, okay, that's it. That's it.
I don't.
He said you looked good.
I only look like the J.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like 83 pounds.
You know, it took me a minute to realize what the joke was there.
I will say this, and I feel great because of it. And I sometimes will get the "Are you sick?" question.
Yeah.
I said, no, I feel great. This is just me wanting to rid myself of weight that clearly, I guess, had been problematic. I didn't feel that it was, but now I think, wow, I had to carry that around. Or, the other thing about it was, just wanted to try to get back into better shape. But they say, I didn't really recognize you. So I don't know if I'm going unrecognized now. But
you just look like a healthier version of yourself.
Just the J. That's pretty good.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when you lose a lot of weight, you become very emotional. Do you find yourself crying in the morning?
I don't.
At all crying yourself to sleep?
I am in so much of a better mood consistently now than I have been in forever.
So, people can get weird when they lose a lot of weight.
Yeah.
I mean, just for a while. So they
I haven't gotten weird. So I am probably as calm, cool, and collected as I've ever been.
That's great.
And I think it's weird when I was carrying around the extra 55, I always felt good about playing hoop even when I was, carrying around that weight. But now I feel so much better. My only issue is I think sometimes I got to it's like having a new car a little bit, right? You get in that new car and you want to see it perform. So I get out there and then kind of act like a jackass and realize that I still am in this 55-year-old frame here. And that's causing
But
issues.
I mean, you're just a different jackass because weren't you always a jackass out there?
I was always a jackass.
Okay, so it's not that you're
just a fatter
all
jackass.
of a sudden you're a jackass. You're just a different jackass.
fatter jackass is what I was right there. Hashtag Ask Pat. Get those questions in. By the way, I did want to read this from Rex regarding Micah Parsons of the Cowboys and that ongoing saga that was really created today. Come on, JMV, the Colts aren't going to even sniff around on Parsons. Ballard never does. And I'm not suggesting, Rex, at all that they will, but I am saying this is something that transforms a team from disappointing / mediocre to legitimate. And this is something this team has needed forever. And if you can, I'm just saying, if it's possible, I would. I look at it differently than a guy like Terry McLaurin. And I like Terry McLaurin, but I would be all over this if I were them. And you're probably right, Rex. They probably won't be, but I would be all over this dude. All over him. Pat Sullivan is in studio. What are we giving away? Comedy tickets for and some free Yeti. 4
tickets to go see Pat Godwin at our Allisonville location next Saturday. Next Saturday, the 9th.
Yes.
And Pat does a great job. Matter of fact, I was promoting on my show on WIBC, our show. When I say Denny always gets a little upset when I say my show.
He does.
Because you know what? He's a new guy, man. He's only been there 23 years.
He does bring in kolaches every Saturday morning, though, doesn't he?
Yes, and he's been bringing in some baked goods as well.
How many calories are on those kolaches?
A lot.
See, I could eat the innards.
That's what I do.
Yeah,
I pull the bread off of them, or whatever that wonderful exterior
I bet that's
is.
about 800 calories of kolache right there if you're not careful.
Yeah.
I bet you.
It probably is.
People ask me all the time, how you talk about drinking beer, how do you drink beer and do this? Well, because I don't eat. And I just drink beer. That's what I do, yeah. I just drink and don't eat. I'm kind of like that Nickelback song.
You should do it come up with a new diet, like the beer and taco diet. Something like that.
Yeah.
Beer and tacos.
Well, did you see, my friend Greg sent me an article from CNN where evidently they give all the credit to TikTok for creating a cottage cheese-loving craze to where the manufacturers are struggling with keeping up. And I have noticed that cottage cheese is not as frequent on the shelves any longer.
Interesting.
It seems like it's more popular. But then I was upset because I think I deserve a little bit of that credit for the craze here. Just a little bit. Much like I did with the Win-Schuler cheese 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Nobody knew a damn thing about Win-Schuler's cheese and the spreadability until we talked about it all the time here. So I deserved a little bit of credit for Win-Schuler's spreadable cheese. The cottage cheese craze.
Cheese, same thing.
Has to be a little bit.
What brand?
Because of me, too.
Do you like a brand?
I do. Here's what I like. I like the Daisy low-fat brand a great deal.
Okay.
And then I go to Gordon's Food Service, and they have these big low-fat 5-pound cartons or containers, and I go get a couple of those and take them home. I love those.
I get the high-end brand. I don't even know the name, but it's very smooth.
I've never been a big fan of the Prairie Farms version of it.
I don't think
for whatever reason. I'm not a big fan of the Kroger version of it, nor the whatever the Walmart version is of it. So
they don't have cottage cheese at Walmart,
yeah,
do they?
Yeah, they do.
No,
it's
probably just corn puffs in there or something.
But the Daisy brand, there's some other. I think there's one called Breckenridge that's supposed to be high dollar, but. I think I deserve the credit, or at least a little bit of it, for the cottage cheese craze. Hashtag Ask Pat. This is from Matt. Are you ready?
Yeah.
What is the most effective way, he says, to illuminate chipmunks that are damaging our foundation? I don't know if he means illuminate or eliminate.
I would believe it would be eliminate.
Yep. Do you watch or are you aware of the series Sullivan Crossing on Netflix / Hulu? Thanks. That's from Matt. Hashtag Ask Pat.
Is that my show? No.
I don't think it's yours, but that's what he says.
You know what? I am a big. Here's the deal: a lot of people don't, because of Disney and Chip and Dale.
Yeah.
They don't like to kill chipmunks. The problem is
they're not the cute little rascals everybody thinks they are.
They're not.
They're more varmints.
They're varmints.
Okay.
But if you trap them, research shows, and I'm not sure who did the research. If you take them more than 2 miles out of their environment, they're going to die anyways. So,
why is that?
You know, I guess
take them away from home?
I guess it's like, you know, you don't know where your local watering hole is.
Oh, really?
So I think
chipmunks can't find water?
Well, you know what?
How do you find it in the first place?
I'm just repeating the study by, I think it was Harvard. Probably not. But sounds good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I would highly
State.
recommend a rat trap style trap.
Oh, that's dirty.
And then you cover that.
Not the glue traps, right?
No, that's a mean thing. Because then, can you imagine being stuck to glue?
Because that's not coming off ever.
No. So I would do that. I would get a milk crate and put that over the top of it so that no domestic animals or birds get into it, and they'll start dropping like flies. You got to get them out of there, man. They do too much damage.
I didn't know
to
they
the
did
slabs.
that much damage.
Yeah, they do.
Hashtag Ask Pat. Hopefully that, Matt, answers your question. Brandon Cole writes this. How do you get rid of foxtail grass in a newly sodded yard that is 3 months old? Hashtag Ask Pat.
You know, I'm not sure there's a selective for foxtail. If there is, it is probably tenacity, I would guess. So I would have to check the labels for that. If there is no selective weed killer, then the best thing you can do is take like a little sponge and attach it to a stick, dip it in a Roundup type product, and you just kind of brush it as you go by so that you don't harm the brand new grass. But don't pull it, because pulling it will just.
Are you a Roundup guy?
Hell yes,
I
am.
Weed killers.
With the
I bought.
the world would starve without
What's
Roundup.
the one in the green jug?
That you see on TV?
No, I mean, what are some of the other weed killers that are out there? I'm trying to think which one I bought that doesn't work.
There's, of course, Roundup. There is
Ortho.
Ortho owns Roundup.
Oh, do they? Because that doesn't work at all.
Well, there is Ortho ones, but you know what?
They suck.
What color jug? Green.
Green.
You know what? The one you got, if it's the green one, that is labeled organic. Technically, it is not organic, but it can be used
it doesn't
on
do anything.
Organic crops. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So you steered into You did not get
I did
the
all
right
that
product.
spraying for nothing.
Yeah.
Kind of like
so
when
that
I was
is
a younger man.
It's a combination like of there's a lot of vinegar and salt type organics.
Yes.
That people like to do, and they feel good about that.
John Easter writes this, and this is a very true statement. Are you ready?
Yep.
I think it's awesome that you've gotten healthier, but I think the old JMV would have made fun of the new JMV diet and exercise program, which makes you even more impressive. Well, I make fun of myself all the time because here's the problem, and I've explained this to you guys on the Home and Garden Show every Saturday morning. I have made a turn for the worst. I've transitioned a little bit into a douchebag.
I know.
I am becoming a lot more douchey.
We have talked about that the last couple of weeks.
Much like, remember Arthur was caught between the moon and New York City? And Arthur's
Absolutely.
thing? I'm caught between hillbilly and douche. I'm like somewhere right in the middle.
How can we pull you back?
I'm the same guy that is a huge hillbilly, but I'm going to wear a tank top and sunglasses in a video on Mass Ave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I get it.
So I'm caught right there. And I don't know. It's almost like you're either one or the other. You're either a hillbilly or a douche. It's not like I can be both. You can't be both Batman and Robin.
It's concerning, I think, for everyone.
Yeah.
What can we do to pull you back?
What would have happened if there was just one? If Batman and Robin were, and this is a good question for the nerds all walking around downtown right now, what happens if both were just meshed together? Would it be more of a superhero or less? Because the duo is no longer there. It's just one.
I think it would be a lot less, quite honestly.
Because, I mean, you really get more.
Robin couldn't really
Don't you get more
much.
of the same right there? They all have the same utility belt and all the same crap they were working on, right?
I think Robin was out of his league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, you couldn't mesh them together?
I don't think so.
But, no, John's right. I mean, I'm caught between hillbilly and douche toxicity right now.
You can't take the hillbilly out of the boy.
I feel bad. I feel bad when I make videos in tank tops and sunglasses.
You were sporting a tank top.
Yeah.
When did I see you wear?
I feel like I should be singing a 98 Degree song.
You came in and you did Craft Corner.
Oh, yeah. I was right in Craft Corner.
Your audience would really like if they do. You were doing
I bet you I was getting called out as douche-tacular in there.
I can see your audience seeing you glue these little rocks to glass.
I think I deserve some points because without the tank top, I'd be shirtless. I really want to be shirtless. I hate wearing a shirt sucks.
You're going to start crying, aren't you?
Especially in the summertime.
He's going to start crying.
I may start crying. Just
what happens?
Making excuses. I was just telling Blake earlier today, sometimes you have to own things. I just got to own the fact that I'm caught between douchebag and hillbilly.
Yeah, just stay right there. You'll be fine.
Food Bar Lounge has a question for #AskPat. This is J-Law. I have a few trees, Pat, with this annoying growth at the base of the trees.
Yeah.
That sounds familiar. I continually cut it down or spray vinegar, salt, or don some concoction of the three together. Any other suggestions to permanently prevent it from growing back?
Okay, so those are called suckers. And that is, those are germinating from the roots around the tree, here's the thing. Trimming stimulates growth. So when you cut them, you get more. So do not trim those. So what you should do is you can get a product like Roundup that will not hurt the tree if you spray it on those. And if you got a few bucks in your pocket, there's a really good product those are called suckers that the tree is suckering. So there's a product called Sucker Punch, but it is rather expensive, but it is really, really good. Sucker Punch.
Sucker Punch.
Yep.
J-Law, if you got that right there. Sucker Punch.
Sucker Punch.
#AskPat. This is from Matt. I have a woodpecker. Me too. I have a woodpecker in my siding. It's problematic.
Yeah.
What do I do? #Pecker. What does he do with his pecker?
It's kind of weird too because if you're on I'll guarantee you that is right by the master bedroom. Ooh.
Yes.
You can't say master bedroom anymore.
You
Did you know that? No.
You can't say
it
master
is,
bedroom?
It's no, because it brings back slavery or something.
I've never
I think.
said master
it's
bedroom
primary.
Anyway.
No, it's
I just said my
primary suite. The primary
suite.
The woodpeckers are always right outside the primary suite.
Okay.
So here would be the thing to do. You can try. There is a mylar ribbon that you can hang down, and there's that's supposed to keep
mylar ribbon.
Mylar ribbon.
What the hell's that?
Like picture a a balloon that kids get that's real kind of shiny.
Well, that's not allowed either, is it? You can't have a balloon. Isn't that illegal?
Balloons? No.
Yeah. Oh, they're not? I thought they were bad for the environment.
Oh, hell no. It's like that. It's like that sea turtle that got a straw stuck in its nose.
Okay.
Look where that got us.
Cardboard straws now, or whatever they are.
I know. I hate them. Actually, everybody's going, even Florida now,
going back to
plastic straw.
Yeah.
But anyway, I would say a very effective way is to get a plastic woodpecker. And you can get those at Wild Birds Unlimited. And woodpeckers, maybe they don't like other woodpeckers, but my neighbor Ted was very successful with, the woodpeckers were all over the siding.
Really?
And he screwed that sucker on there. Every once in a while, he'd move it around, and he has had no problem since.
Wow, well done, Ted, right there.
Nice job, Ted.
That's smart by Ted.
So Wild Birds Unlimited, I believe, has the woodpeckers.
You guys have any presents at the Indiana State Fair?
We do not.
You do not? Have you ever before?
No, we've talked about it, but, it's kind of weird. I talked to Bob Dapper from
yes,
Royal Spa.
Bob Dapper. Does he have a presence out there? How about Bob Dapper needs to have a presence at my house because my Royal Spa hot tub is not presently working.
Really? Just call him, or are you just doing a mind thing?
There's somebody out there named Brenda that's supposed to tell Bob Dapper that he needs to call me.
Okay.
And come out and fix my hot tub and get that into shape.
Oh, man, they've come out. Nothing
I bet there's
wrong
a
very
wasp
often.
Nest
But
in my hot tub right now.
Oh, really? Well, they probably won't fix that.
Yeah.
So, but they do a great job. But he has always had a place out there, and I was shocked when he told me how many tubs he sells out at the Great Indiana State Fair. Because when I think about going to the fair, I generally don't think about, buying furniture or buying but I guess I would be wrong.
What I should have done instead of installing my hot tub on top of my deck, I should have had it put down on the ground.
That's what I did.
I should have done that. Why didn't I do that?
And then you allow the deck to come up around it so that it doesn't, because, I like it. It's kind of a fake built-in look.
Right.
Yeah.
And then that groundhog that lives in my backyard under my deck could hang out in it too.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't do that.
I bet he would enjoy
that. But yes,
that.
Bob Dapper. Shout out to Bob Dapper who needs to fix my hot tub.
Sure.
ASAP. It is not working. Pork Chop has this question at #AskPat. My roses are very tall and pretty. Sounds like the start of a song.
Thanks for the call.
But I cannot get the bottom to grow out. Should I cut them all the way down to the ground? #AskPat from Pork Chop.
You know what? Here's what I would do this fall. I would cut them down to about 36 inches. And then in March, I would cut them down to probably 16, 18 inches. And then it sounds like what has happened is he missed the pruning cycle that he was supposed to do. So he's got all the roses on top, and he's got, some unproductive wood.
Yes,
as we like to say.
There's no doubt.
No one likes
Very
to have
familiar
unproductive
with unproductive wood right there. All right, 239-1070, James. Jeff has a comment regarding a chipmunk problem. Go ahead, Jeff. How are you?
Hey, Jeff.
Hi there. I'm good. I run a small lawn care landscape company. There's a 100% effective method to, if you're a chipmunk in my house, you ain't paying rent, you got to go. The damage they do to your foundation.
Don't say
horrible.
chip and dip. Are you going to go chip and dip?
Well, it's the bucket of death, they call it on the internet.
I call it chip and dip, but go ahead.
Yeah, so you get a 5-gallon bucket, fill it 2/3 full of water, get sunflower seeds in the shell, top the surface of that bucket, and then lead something up to it. I have a tall porch, so they just dive right in. I put some sunflower seeds on the porch. I look out, they're cracked. Guess what? I got at least one in there. The first year, I got like 20 chipmunks. So my neighbors thanked me greatly, but not the most. They don't swim for about 30 seconds, but hey, if you ain't paying rent, you got to go. But it's not the most, some people may not like it, but the bucket of death is it's the best solution for chipmunks.
I know. I try not to, everybody brings that up, and I try not because I hate the bad mail, but 5-gallon bucket.
I have a bass pond. I have a bass pond behind my house, so they like the chipmunks when I pull them.
Gotcha.
So
you
they
just,
get recycled.
you understand what he's saying, 5-gallon bucket, water in it, put a little, some sunflower seeds floating on the water. Then you take a piece of wood and from the rim of that 5-gallon bucket down to the ground. And then you might sprinkle a couple sunflower
put them
seeds
on the
up
wood.
the way,
Yeah.
and they just kind of go, and then they dive in.
But if you've got a deck that you can just set that bucket right next to, then you can avoid the wood. And just throw some sunflower seeds on the deck, too. They'll find it. And I also catch mice that way, too. Mice find it and dive into it.
Wow.
Jeff, well done on the knowledge right there, brother.
Bucket of death.
Thank you, Jeff. It's Jeff, hashtag Ask Pat. Somebody's going to win free Yeti and 4 comedy tickets, Pat.
Yeah, 4 tickets to see Pat Godwin at our Allisonville location. If you have not seen Pat Godwin, we had him at Christmas. He is hilarious.
He's a funny guy.
He travels all over the country. And so being that, we have a radio show on Saturday. So we thought, what would be better to play a clip of Pat Godwin doing one of his bits. And I said to Ethan, I said, all right, get a good clip and make sure it's clean. So he got a good clip. He did not make sure
it was clean.
And the F-bomb came out.
Oh,
and
boy.
I've never in 32 years, I have not had to dump, on the Home and Garden show, you don't dump a lot of, but man, I hit that thing 3 times.
Oh, wow.
And I shouldn't have done that because that kept resetting.
Ethan.
Yeah.
And then you wait a week to throw Ethan under the bus on a different show and different station. That's well done out of you.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, got a trivia question for you guys in closing. Hashtag Ask Pat. This from the album Knee Deep in the Hoopla was released on this date back in 1985. Can you name the song?
Hell no. You know me.
This from the album Knee Deep in the Hoopla went to number 14 of the year 1985 by the group called Starship.
Oh.
Can you name the song?
No.
This may be one of the described worst songs ever created.
Really?
We built this city.
Oh, we built this city.
We built this city on
rock
this
and roll
date, Mike, back in 1985 from the album Knee Deep in the Hoopla.
You don't like that
was
song?
released by the Starship. I don't mind it.
Oh.
I especially like the radio part toward the end. Looking out that Golden Gate Bridge, another gorgeous sunny Saturday. We're seeing that bumper-to-bumper traffic. That's James wanting me to break, or he's only done it twice. I recognized it earlier.
Did you?
All right, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. until 1, right?
9 until 1 on
right.
93.1.
Yes, 93 WIBC, and I will call at some point.
I would appreciate that.
The Home and Garden Show. Hashtag Ask Pat, everybody. That is Pat Sullivan.
Thanks for having me.
Egg Fest is coming up here soon.
Yeah, Egg Fest is on the 16th.
Yes.
You get tickets at sullivanhardware.com. There is still a few of the VIP tables left as well.
Love that. Egg Fest is on the horizon. Thanks, Pat. Pat Sullivan, Sullivan Hardware and Garden, and the Home and Garden Show tomorrow morning on 93 WIBC begins at 9 a.m. Quick break. We'll come back a little over 30 away from me, Atkins of the Star. More Colts conversation, a little bit more on Micah Parsons, you and I, and more next.
Support
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, afternoon baseball for everybody. Cubs fans happy. 1-0 shutout of the Orioles. Meantime, Reds a 3-2 win over the Braves this afternoon, if anybody caught that. Yeah, last night was very typical Reds, made it exciting. They actually, if you watched the game last night's game was ridiculous. It really was. But it was so Reds, the way that it went down. So the story was Reds end up losing 12-11 was the final. They scuffled around with the lead. Had a lot of opportunities to score, a lot of situations. I think maybe 2 or 3 at least situations, middle innings, where they had runners in scoring position and just one out, couldn't push one across. And then you get to the top of the 8th inning, and the Braves put up 8. Very crooked number, which is not good. So the Reds respond in the bottom of the 8th inning with 8 of their own. Or 8 is enough as it stands. And unfortunately couldn't close the deal. Braves score 1 at the top of the 10th inning and win by the score of 12-11. So it was about as Reds as you get. If you hate yourself for being a Reds fan, that solidified, I thought, your hatred last night. Reds bounce back, however, get a win earlier today. 3-2 is the final. And it was, who was it? Yeah, Brady Singer was the winner. 9-8 on the season is Singer. And I did see that Will Benson had a home run. 2 for 3 with a home run for the Reds. They get a win earlier today. I mentioned the Cubs get a shutout win over the Orioles at Wrigley Field for that interleague set with the Orioles, who sold off basically everything prior to the trade deadline. Everything else as it stands later on this evening, including if you're a Cardinals fan, and how can you stand yourself later on tonight, 9:40, the Cardinals on the road in San Diego versus the Padres. Meantime, you do have the Fever in action coming up later on tonight. Eddie Garrison is going to have you covered. That's at 7:15. The Fever at 15-12. Fever at 15-12, and let's just face it, they are playing a little bit better, even right now, without the obvious in Caitlin Clark. But playing a little bit better right now. Fever have won 3 straight, 6-4 in their last 10. 15-12 right now. They get the Dallas Wings on the road. Dallas, meantime, 8-20 on the season. I mentioned Eddie Garrison had you covered. 7:15 for your pregame, and then officially underway with the Fever tip time is at 7:30 coming up later on tonight. Is that, yeah, that's an Ion game, I believe. Tonight at 7:30. And what it normally is on a Friday night, a very robust type of WNBA schedule. Fever and the Wings coming up later on tonight. Fever on the road on Sunday afternoon. Fever and the Seattle Storm. That's at 3 o'clock. That's an ABC performance right there. I was talking about Leah Boston a little bit earlier. You know, nearly 16 points a game and over 8 rebounds a game. Those are really good numbers, but I think we saw late in that game against Phoenix the other night that she can be better. I think she can be even higher level and more consistent. And that's hopefully what you get. I will say this. As of late, I am more and more impressed with the great way this group has played. 7:15, Eddie Garrison's got you covered coming up later on tonight. With that, Nick checks in with this. You can tell Colts camp is going better this year because Steichen does not seem as throttled and has excitement in his voice during interviews. What do you say? I'm going to give you both. Nick, I think you're right. I think they are feeling good about the way camp is going in the first week. Now, before anybody goes, well, you know, it's the Colts and it doesn't matter right now. Jackasses, I know. It doesn't matter right now, but it is better than the alternative. And it is true. It doesn't make it any less true. They are playing better in the first week of camp than what we witnessed, certainly knocking around a year ago. Now, Nick, I would also suggest part 2 of that is Shane Steichen has grown now into his third season, I think, in meeting with the media a little bit more than maybe he was early on. That makes sense? I think he's better with it. Sometimes he may still not say anything whatsoever, which is par for the course with a lot of these guys, but I think he is better at addressing it than he has been. But yeah, with good reason, because I think the first week of camp, and when you look at the quarterback position and you kind of know that even in camp and, they haven't thrown interceptions and it hasn't been a marked down on your sheet of paper and evaluated by those here in town mess, of which we'll talk to Nate Atkins coming up at the top of the hour. I think that makes a lot of people feel better. News of the day, Micah Parsons basically says on social media he is done, and I mean done, I'm paraphrasing here, with the Dallas Cowboys. And you got the news yesterday of Terry McLaurin, and Buddy Baker here locally is his agent. Terry McLaurin is requesting a trade from the Washington Commanders. And while I love Terry McLaurin, and I would love to have Terry McLaurin as a wide receiver on my team anytime, any place, when you compare the two, Terry McLaurin takes a team that is already good to a higher level, to, I think, what is an elite level of competition, an already good team. Micah Parsons, to me, is a guy that makes a mediocre or below team legitimate. And if you ask me yesterday what you did about Terry McLaurin, I said, yeah, I think right now, and believe me, I understand nothing has been proven. They have a possession receiver, they have a deep threat, they have a slot guy, and they have an enigma. They have a guy that is a huge question mark. I mean, A.D. Mitchell for the first half of this week was, as described by those out there, a mess. And then the last 2 days has been a reclamation project. Hell, I don't know what he is, but they hold a lot of stock and a lot of value in what they believe he can be. I don't happen to believe that their wide receiver positions are the issue right now. While I would love to have Terry McLaurin on any team, I don't think he is the necessity that others believe him to be here. I don't think he's also going anywhere. And the same maybe will be said about Micah Parsons. Maybe this is, drawing the line in the sand of negotiation, trying to get something done. You saw a lot of his Cowboy teammates kind of siding with him on this, taking the stand as arguably, and maybe there's not much of an argument to be had. I don't know whether it's, CeeDee Lamb or Micah Parsons or how you would put it, but, arguably as the most talented player on that roster, taking a stand for yourself. And all of this is known to be the art of negotiation. However, I would say this. If there is any truth to Micah Parsons never, ever wanting to step foot on a field in the Cowboys star helmet and the Cowboys uniform, where he has described himself as absolutely done in Dallas, I would be all over that if I were the Colts, like a bad, stinking habit. All over it. That is the difference with this team in, to me, being at one level of mediocrity or below to legitimizing yourself. I think that helps a defense to where all the questions right now are where along. I mean, you could have questions about the linebacker. They don't seem too concerned about the linebacker position. But all the questions are, all right, is Leatu Latu going to, in year number 2, provide any consistent pressure? Are they going to get pressure from Kwity Paye? These are all questions we've had since Robert Mathis. This legitimizes you, and when you look at the division and you look at this schedule, I think this makes you better. If there's any truth whatsoever to this, and rightly so, it could be nothing but a negotiation ploy and full of crap. But if there's any truth, man, I would be jumping all over that. All over it. It'd be like, man, is there a Selma Hayek film on? I think I'm going to watch that. That would be an easy choice to make. And I think that there is a difference. There is a difference between, in this case, and I love Terry McLaurin, but there's a difference between what one guy would make you as a team than what another guy would make you as a team. I think you'd be more of wondering what you already are right now as a team with McLaurin here, whereas he goes someplace else or stays in Washington for that matter. Listen, if I were him, I'd want to stay there because you got a quarterback, you got a team that seems to be on the verge if you do all the right things. I would view that as more of a negotiation ploy. The whole Parsons thing, I mean, there's a lot of stuff here. This is transformed into a late Friday afternoon soap opera. My God, would I be nosing in on that? I'd be nosing in on that if I were the Colts like crazy. And I saw where Adam Schefter, a good friend of the show, had made a comp of a deal like that. I think his player was Khalil Mack, who was disgruntled, wanted out, and then ultimately got his wish to what it took to get him back then. And obviously, I'm sure it would be more robust now to what it would take to get Micah Parsons. But, I mean, if you're going to make a comparison right here, I think it's without a doubt a direction, if there's any truth whatsoever, that the Colts should go. I don't normally say that. I kind of think all this stuff can be a pipe dream, and I'm sure this is as well. But I can't sit here and tell you that they shouldn't have interest if there is a reason to have interest, because, by God, you should. That is a difference maker for this team. Jeff writes this. Look what they did in Green Bay with Reggie White. DK says, plus any secondary will get beat when the quarterback has 8 seconds to throw the ball. We've struggled rushing for a while. They haven't had anybody legitimate doing that since Robert Mathis. Man, and this guy is beyond legitimate. It's a difference. Quick break, we'll come back. Any calls we can do at 239-1070. If not, I can yip yap until the top of the hour. And then Nate Atkins of the Star will join me in yip yap and what he saw last night at the night practice, what he feels is going to be the remainder of the weekend, both tomorrow and Sunday morning, and then a week's worth of get-togethers in Baltimore that will conclude with a matchup in preseason game 1 with the Ravens coming up on Thursday evening. Nate Atkins, that's coming up at the top of the hour. The Stream the App HD Radio, so many reasons why you need to be a AAA member. It is tough for me to explain right now, but you should know. The perks you get around Central Indiana, for example, like Ruoff for concerts, to having your back on the open road wherever you're going, especially back to school time. Become a AAA member today. The AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
This channel is reserved for emergency calls only.
Lady, do I sound like I'm ordering a pizza? 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Couple things for you here. Golf outing coming up next Thursday. You guys better be involved in this because now we have a basketball goal, and I am ready to whip some ass. We're going to have prizes to give away. Good luck with trying to win them. Now, I may let I'm not going to. No, I take that back. I'm not going to let anybody win. What am I talking about? But we are going to have a blast. Basketball goal coming out. Blast to be had. Golf outing. That is benefiting Franciscan Health coming up next Thursday. Have you signed up yet? Seriously, if you haven't, the game changer right here is the basketball goal being out there. 1075thefan.com. Sign out. What? Sign up ASAP. Shout out to Showbiz. That is Carl. I'd try to pronounce his last name, but it's long and very difficult, and I don't want to do that. Showbiz. You know Showbiz really well. He has to put up with Tony Katz weekday mornings on 93 WIBC. So no wonder he's a little outside his mind sometimes. But no, he is awesome at what he does. We are putting together a JMV 80s takeover weekly that is going to be available online, and he gave me bits and pieces of a demo of that a little bit earlier today, and holy hell, it sounds fantastic. Why would I ever doubt Carl? This sounds good. I'll let you know when you can check it out, by the way, too. But it is all going to be much like what I do on Saturday nights, especially with just the 80s, but it's going to be a group of about an hour long. I don't know, maybe 30, 45 minutes, something like that. But it will be worth your while, I promise. Yes. This is interesting. This is from Jim. I'm driving a lot all over Indiana, surrounding states, constantly streaming The Fan. Great show as always. You probably already got the suggestion for the open spot in, that's our Tavern Tour stop from Jim in Fort Wayne here, as I like to say, the fart. How about Manley's Irish Mutt? And we do. I think Bill is the one that a couple of different times, Mike Manley and the gang, Manley's Irish Mutt, 10th and Shadeland was a recommendation we had. We had somebody fall out in late August because their location closed abruptly. Last week, in fact. And we put together the Tavern Tour stops months in advance. So we are looking for a location. And Manley's Irish Mutt, Jim, has been mentioned a number of times. JMV, I am not kidding here. The whole shelf in our fridge is loaded with Daisy 2%, a staple of son Tom. He and his wife Mary have been doing great watching their diets and are slim and trim. Shout out to Daisy Cottage Cheese. There's a reason why the cottage cheese craze is going on right now. Went from Fort Wayne, or the fart, as I mentioned it, to Columbus, Ohio, and back today. Thank you for doing what you do. That is my good friend, Jim. Jim, thank you very much. And a shout out to the great cottage cheese craze that we are stirring up around here. And obviously the search and all of your recommendations for what is a fantastic upcoming Tavern Tour stop. Paulie doesn't have confidence of any interest whatsoever with Micah Parsons. I don't either. But that doesn't mean I shouldn't talk about it. I think we should talk about it. That and more. Nate Atkins, he was at the night practice last night. He covers the Colts for the Star. He's on the inbound. That is next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Give me my theme music!
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
And the first Colts happy hour straight at you right after this show. It's me, too. Matt Taylor, Casey Valier. Others. I think Kenny Moore is a part of it. Who the hell else is a part of it today? Mike Silver's on it. Son of a gun, it's loaded.
Cam Bynum.
Cam Bynum. Not Andrew Bynum, but Cam Bynum. So you got morning gatherings in Westfield tomorrow and on Sunday, and then it is off to Baltimore for a week that concludes on Thursday night with that initial preseason game. The night practice was last night at Grant Park in Westfield. I was up there for the afternoon. If you missed DeForest Buckner on the show, you got to double back and check that out. Where were you? Seriously, I should punish you. If you missed that lengthy conversation and the long form, which is always good with DeForest Buckner, the podcast, 1075, thefan.com. Eddie Garrison's got the pregame coming up later on tonight. The Fever on the road in Dallas, the first of two roadies. Tonight in Dallas, tip time 7:30, Fever 15 and 12. Seattle Storm coming up on Sunday. Is that in Seattle or Tacoma? They used to play in Tacoma. I'm assuming they play in Seattle.
I think they play in Seattle now.
Thank you, James. That's on Sunday afternoon, right here and then on ABC. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, it was one hell of a night. Really, it's been a nice week so far of practice for the Colts at Grant Park in Westfield for training camp. And covering the Colts for the Indianapolis Star, Nate Atkins joins us. Good afternoon, Nate. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. Nice little off day here between a couple of different practices. And, of course, I'll be out in Baltimore all of next week. So things are about to ramp up with the joint practice and preseason game. And it was just fun to see some fireworks last night, both after the game and also on the field during the practice. It was actually one of the most fun practices I've covered. So things are ramping up.
Yeah, you mentioned things are ramping up. Has this been a decent first week practice springboard? When you compare, and I know Jalen Jones, had that situation, but when you compare, the injuries or lack thereof and the productive play, it seems like that everybody within the organization is not, just happy because it's the start of the season, but happy with the overall first week worth of preparation. Is that true?
Yeah, I think as of right now, you have to be pretty encouraged just with the way that it built. So we get out there, we've had 7 practices so far. And I would say the first 4 or 5, what really stood out was how great the secondary looked. And then that took a turn just with those injuries that you mentioned. But at the same time, the thing you really wanted to see was the passing game take off. And it went from a pretty, honestly, lackluster several practices between neither Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones looking all that sharp. And, Michael Pittman Jr. and Josh Downs haven't looked like themselves either. A.D. Mitchell was kind of struggling out there. But there's some natural elements to that just with, it's 2 quarterbacks, new offense for Daniel Jones. Anthony Richardson's first practices after being shut down from throwing for a while, changing quarterbacks in and out. It made sense for why it would take a little bit of time, but it has picked up a lot just the past 2 or 3 practices. These quarterbacks have just really turned it on. Both Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson playing a lot better, moving the ball down the field. They've done a lot of 11-on-11, full field and red zone, and they're starting to score touchdowns. Again, it comes in conjunction with some of those secondary injuries, so you have to take that into consideration. But everything was going to be about these quarterbacks, either taking off or if they just continued to flounder, they were going to be stuck in a tough spot no matter what happened with the rest of the team. So to see the show that Anthony Richardson put on last night specifically in the way he started to connect with A.D. Mitchell and really just take command of that offense, I thought that's the most encouraging thing you could possibly ask for. And the fact that, so far, you knock on wood, but so far through 7 practices, he's healthy. He's been healthy. He's done everything that they want him to do out there. And I think it to be feeling good right now.
So Nate Atkins of the Star talks Colts and Colts camp, a couple of morning practices this weekend, and then off to Baltimore in preparation for that first preseason game. Coming up on Thursday night, of course, we got your coverage right here on The Fan. Outside of the quarterback position, and we may double back to that point in a second, what has most impressed you about what you've witnessed in this first week of practice?
I think the thing that just really jumped out, that's not shocking, but it was just validating, I think, to see is just how good Charvarius Ward and Cam Bynum are and how much of an immediate impact you felt by them being there. Of course, we knew that you had an all-pro outside corner in Ward and an experienced safety in Bynum to what was such a bad group last year. Of course, there was going to be some difference, but they fit in immediately in the ways that they were brought here to do. So Ward is out there just locking down receivers in man coverage. That's been a lot of why Michael Pittman Jr. has struggled is he's on Mooney Island, as we call it, and Charvarius Ward's able to cover not only tight man coverage, but make plays on the ball. He had a nice interception, one-on-one fade drill and gets hands on the football. And then Cam Bynum has just looked like a guy who knows where everyone's going on the field. His read and react skills are so on point, and his leadership has really stood out, not just with what teammates are saying about kind of the energy and the spirit of him, but the fact that Zaire Franklin hasn't been out there, and that's their captain. That's their guy who organizes the defense. Cam Bynum has taken that on, and that's a lot for a new player who doesn't really know these teammates very well, with a new scheme, a new defensive coordinator. Like, defenses are often ahead of the offense early on in camp, but there was so much change with that group that you wondered if that would take a little bit of time to get going, but it hasn't. Those two have been absolutely terrific, and there's just a nice trickle-down effect to it where a guy like Justin Wally, who's a third-round rookie, is able to step in at outside corner and look the part, and you see Kenny Moore is able to be a little bit more active rather than just a glue player like he had to be all of last year, and Nick Cross is kind of fitting in coverage better where he's not really able to be targeted as much. Like, just the talent overhaul in the secondary I thought was pretty tremendous, and we're still waiting on the pass rush to take off a little bit more. Last night, Laiatu Latu had a really nice practice, so that was his first kind of splash, but those guys just didn't really have the chance to do that last year with how vulnerable that secondary was. That all seems transformed between the talent level being up so much, the depth overall being up, even with the injuries, and just the approach of Louis Anarumo and how much he's incorporating aggressive man coverage and putting such an emphasis on the coverage. It's just such a reverse of last year from a talent perspective, from an attitude perspective, from a coaching perspective too. It feels night and day. So even though they've got a couple of tough injuries they're dealing with there right now, those seem like they're going to be short term, and they're not, the biggest names, the biggest impact players. I think you have to feel so much better about a secondary that's going to just raise that pass rush, that's going to, you hope, save the linebackers a little bit, which is the big concern of the defense. This defense all of a sudden feels like it's no longer just hanging on and trying to survive, which was all of last year. Right now it feels like it has at least the makings of a defense that can bring the fight to the offense and really become a force at times. And I think that's exactly what you want to combine with, an offense that I think has a lot of upside, but a lot of questions and a lot of growth it needs. But the defense needed to be the stronger unit to start camp, and it has been. And I just think you have to be pretty encouraged by having strengths at very important positions now, which wasn't always the case last year.
So Nate Atkins of the Star covers the Colts morning get-together coming up tomorrow morning and then on Sunday morning at Grand Park in Westfield. Nate's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. All right, let's further excite people, as you just did, about the prowess of the defense. I saw the betting odds, and we have read the words of clearly, as of right now, Micah Parsons wants the hell out of Dodge in Dallas. And people ask me this all the time. They asked about Terry McLaurin yesterday, and I thought, as much as I like Terry McLaurin, he takes a team that's already good to a different level. Micah Parsons is a legitimizer to a team that, to me, is mediocre or below, just like the Colts. I'm telling you, if there's any truth to this, and this is far beyond now a negotiation ploy, and bridges are burned and there's no going back, I am going as hard as I possibly can if I'm the Colts after this guy. Because, again, he's a legitimizer for a team that needs it, in a division that they need it, in a season where stinking everybody needs it, unlike really anybody else I think could be outside of the quarterback position of the NFL. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, in that way, I think you could put the Colts up there with probably just about 30 other teams that should be interested in Micah Parsons right now. That certainly seems like a situation that's boiled over, and it's kind of amazing for a player that just gets 12.5 sacks rolling out of bed every single year, and he's only 26 years old. And that is exactly what they need. That's what they drafted Laiatu Latu in the hopes of getting a real game-wrecking speed player off the edge. They have not had that at all since I've been here. It's the thing that's held DeForest Buckner back. It's the thing that's held their pass defense overall back. And just sort of the juice of, I think, Micah as a personality could come into any defense and just raise the level of everybody. So, I mean, if that's at all a possibility, that he's going to get moved, we will still see, because sometimes these situations in the NFL have a tendency to get really ugly and then get resolved. We saw that a little bit with Myles Garrett in Cleveland. Usually it ends up being a deal because it's just, it's sort of like when you have a star quarterback that needs a deal, like we saw with Dak Prescott or in Lamar Jackson. If you're not going to keep those guys, it's sort of like, what are you doing as a franchise? So I'm not convinced that he isn't going to find a resolution there in Dallas yet. But if he is going to move, if he's on the block, I mean, they've got to be one of many, many teams that are going to explore it. And who knows? I mean, I don't think it's something that is in Chris Ballard's nature, because even though he has gotten, more aggressive this year with signings and free agency, his big idea that I think he's being truthful about is he's just not trying to mortgage a bunch of future on, one make or break season, something that can set the franchise back. And that's not that Micah Parsons would set it back, but it just depends on, what it would take, because I would imagine it would involve multiple first-round picks and players. And I do think they're an interesting team to try that, because they've got a couple of young edge rushers they just drafted that they could send back in a deal like that. That's why I thought the Trey Hendrickson noise was something for them to explore. But I know with Trey Hendrickson, they just felt like the compensation that Cincinnati wanted back, if they were to move him, was just too high for them to want to entertain. So I have to imagine that would creep in a little bit with Parsons as well, as great as he is. So you can definitely make a case for it. I wouldn't not call it, anything remotely likely. I don't know that they've had any conversations about that yet. It's all kind of so fresh right now, but no doubt if he's actually available and out there, that's something that a lot of teams should explore, and it would be a great fit here. No doubt about it.
Oh my goodness. I shouldn't get myself excited about this, because I know it's not going to happen, but I just think that's a difference between a lot of winning and a lot of losing, and a lot of people leaving and never coming back and or returning. That's just kind of how I feel about that. I think he has that type of level of play and dynamics to do that for this team. And you mentioned, this is something you said you've never seen it here coming off the edge. It's not been since Robert Mathis. That's how long that it has been since you've had somebody that you really have to plan for. And while it's great to feel that maybe you have something in Laiatu Latu, the one thing that Chris and company should probably do, you should occasionally look down at your watch and know that this clock finally is really ticking on your ass right here, a little bit here. And if you are, as I mentioned, going to be able to legitimize it, you mentioned there are about 30 other teams that would probably like to do this. Separate yourself. All right? Go at it. Go at it hard. If, again, this is more than just a negotiation ploy.
Yeah, it's interesting because watching Laiatu Latu last night with his first big practice and winning off the edge, it gets you excited about what could be, but it's still all theoretical. He had 4 sacks last year, and he did have 36 pressures and 20 hurries, and there were moments that he was certainly around the quarterback, but he's a very specific type of player who needs situations to work in his favor. He needs matchups where he's one-on-one and not against a tight end, and he needs to be in those kind of pin your ears back pass rushing situations and not run defense situations. And it can work. It absolutely has the chance to work, but Micah Parsons is going to work no matter what. He does it every single year. He does it no matter how offenses want to try to game plan against him, no matter what's opposite him. And you could see it if you put him next to DeForest Buckner. I don't know how any offense could possibly handle that unless the secondary was so bad that they just throw quick, and that's what everything this offseason has been about fixing here. So it's certainly something fun to dream on. But yeah, I still put it in that dream category just because, if Parsons is going to move, like we said, there's going to be 30 teams. It's going to be a bidding
because
war.
it's the Colts. It's in the dream because of the Colts and who is steering the ship. That's it is. I mean, I thought, Nate, you said it accurately. Even with the aggression in free agency, this would be like, in essence, a rebirth of philosophy right here. I wouldn't look at it as desperation. I'd look at it as a change in that philosophy, which, simply put, hasn't worked for 8+ years. And why wouldn't you? I'd look at it, what the hell, might as well. And look at it as this is something we've been chasing for a long time, much like the quarterback position. Let's go ahead and give this a go. That's how I would view it. Not view it as, well, you don't want to damage the organization for future use. I mean, truth be told, if you don't up what you're doing right now, there's going to be no future use that you're taking part in. So while I understand that, a change in philosophy is what he did in the offseason. So I don't know why that wouldn't carry over now if there was, seriously a way or a path you could find a landing spot here. I would definitely go hard at it if there's truth behind it.
Yeah, I don't think it's desperation at all if they actually were to go down that road, because Parsons is 26 years old, and that's a player for the long term. So it's different than Trey Hendrickson, who's 30 years old already. But part of it is, Micah has, if he has the power to get the situation to where it is already, he's going to be able to dictate some version of where he goes in terms of kind of the future and where he wants to sign. And that often, with pass rushers like that, it often is tied to the quarterback and the belief in that position. And so it kind of depends on, does he believe in this situation? And so that's the only way that it would maybe not work, is just if they're resetting at quarterback in a year from now. It's still amazing to have Parsons and you have him for the long run, but you're kind of toiling again, trying to find an answer to the position that's ultimately going to make you a contender, whether you have Parsons or not. And so that's kind of the thing that's lingering out there that tends to work against them. It's why I didn't think, Myles Garrett's big idea was he wanted to win a Super Bowl with a star quarterback, and that was the situation bringing down in Cleveland. And that's why I didn't think that where Indianapolis was a fit for that. But you never know. I mean, Parsons is about as confident as a guy as it comes, and he believes he's gonna make it work no matter where. And so, and if he's really that upset with Dallas, I would imagine in the situation there, then I would imagine that he'd be open to anybody who's willing to buy in on him. So it'll just be interesting to see who all lines up to do that, and how much the stability at quarterback factors into it for him.
Now, here's Nate Atkins of the Star. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Give me a little sense on what you've seen along that offensive line. I know we had some questions, and obviously, I guess if you're looking at from what I've heard so far, being out there yesterday, is that competition has been at center with Bordolini and with Pinter. And I think that's been the major focus, if not anything else, has been the center position and the right guard. So, in essence, the interior of the right side of the offensive line. How are things going in that direction? Because it seems like at left tackle, at left guard, and at right tackle, everything's pretty much okay in the first week of camp.
Yeah, I think you have to feel really good about the situation that they're putting these guys into, being Tanner Bordolini if he ends up starting at center, and Matt Gonzalez is going to be the right guard. It's hard to switch two positions like that with newcomers in spots they haven't played in much, but you have to feel about as good as certainly since I've been here about what's going on at those other three spots, where Quentin Nelson's always been a constant, but now they have a really good left tackle who's durable and locked in for the future. And Braden Smith really feels like a new player at the moment, between coming back on a motivated sort of 1-year prove-it deal in a contract year. He's currently healthy, which is not always the case for him. And obviously everything that he did down in Mexico just to get right mentally, just talking to him the other day, you feel like you've got a completely new mindset there. Now, his track record is such that, it's a right now thing that he's healthy. That isn't always the case, but he tends to play through it. But I think that's where you just feel good about the guys around them. And then Tony Sparano Jr. is just one of the best offensive line coaches, I think, in the NFL. And that's a big part of how Bernhard Raimann got to the point where he's an extended type, big-time premium left tackle when he came in so raw and undeveloped. So they really love the attitude and the approach of Tanner Bortolini and Matt Gonzalez. And, you know, I look at that center spot similarly to the quarterback competition, where I don't think it's actually about the veteran at all. It's not really about what Danny Pinter does or what Daniel Jones does. It's about the guys they drafted and are they ready to take this position. If Anthony Richardson looks at all ready, and if Tanner Bortolini looks at all ready, they're going to be the guys that play because they're the ones that have the upside. You know what those other veterans are. They're here to kind of stabilize this if those young players aren't ready, because in the past they put too much on young players. So they want to have that fallback. But I don't see those as real competitions for like an even race. I just think it's about if those guys are ready, and it's just a little too early to tell quite on the offensive line because they've been in pads for only a couple of days. I thought the offensive line has looked pretty good so far, but you know, we're going to have to see this play out, and that's where the joint practices are going to tell us a lot because it's very intense and it's different matchups than they've been facing, and teams trying to do different stuff to target those players. So we're going to learn a lot in the coming days. But the fact that that offensive line is as healthy as it is right now across the board, that makes you feel really good too.
Nate, in closing here, quarterback competition, if indeed this thing is real. I always thought that there would have to be just a tremendous gap between Richardson and Jones. In Jones' favor for him to start in week number one. Other people disagree, but that's always been my thought. Where is this competition going on right now as starting is concerned for the Colts with the quarterbacks after week one?
Yeah, it's Anthony Richardson's job to lose, and right now he's controlling it. And so that's an in-the-moment comment because with Anthony, you know, you got to see first if he's healthy enough to be on the field, and then you know, there is an inconsistent nature to his game even when he's going well because that's just kind of the skill set that they drafted. But he has all the upside at that position. He's the one that can air it out down the field, is willing to do that. He's the dynamic runner. Daniel Jones brings a nice floor in a similar style in that, you know, you can design runs with him. He's good when he does want to scramble. He can really turn a play that's got nothing going on into, you know, a 5 to 10 yard run. So he can help raise the bar a little bit, and I think it's going to be a nice fit in those games that Anthony Richardson does miss because if we're being real, even if Anthony overcomes a lot of the durability questions, running quarterbacks always miss a couple games in this league. That's just part of it, and they need to be able to run an offense where they're not afraid to run Anthony just because of injury risk. So that's where I think Daniel fits in very well. They don't have to change the offense, which is important when you have so many young players in this offense around them to keep it consistent. But for Anthony, there were 4 areas really that I thought he had to address. It was a lot on his plate this offseason, and those areas were obviously the accuracy and the completion percentage. It was the durability, proving he can stay on the field and handle a high volume workload. And the ball security was another one that I thought was really big. It's not just completing passes to stay on the field with first downs. It's not giving the ball right back, which I felt like happened a few too many times last year. And then the other one is the professionalism and just kind of walking the walk and really embracing criticism. And he's shown that in a few ways, just in small ways so far. But the offensive line went to him the other day about his cadence was just too low and quiet. It was leading to false starts. He fixed that pretty quickly. And so the accuracy's been better with the ball placement on some of these outside throws and short throws. The deep ball was the thing we hadn't seen much from him, and I just got the sense that it wasn't an emphasis for them, and it was just very rusty with him taking time off and spending the offseason on the short throws. But we saw that last night when he had 2 gorgeous fade balls, one for a touchdown to Ashton Doolin, one that set up a touchdown to A.D. Mitchell. Those are plays that Daniel Jones just frankly hasn't performed many in his career, and I think he's only gone down the field for completion maybe once so far in camp. So it's just 2 very different players of, one's the guy that started a lot, that does walk the walk, that is pretty durable. That's Daniel Jones. He's the floor. But Anthony Richardson's the ceiling. And all teams should be going for a ceiling at quarterback, but especially in the AFC, that's the only way you're going to create something that has sustainability. And that's what everyone here needs in this franchise, is that a 9-8 season with Daniel Jones, I just don't think gets them anywhere. In fact, I think that might be the worst case scenario for them, because they'd be stuck in a spot of just keeping it going with a low upside outcome, which has been too much of what this franchise has done since I got here. And so that's drafting Anthony Richardson was all about taking that shot to have one of those guys who can, in moments, go toe-to-toe with a Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. And that's such a high bar, but those are the only guys who've even made the AFC title game in the past half decade. So you have to take a shot at that. I think there's only one quarterback on this team that has the skill set to give you that chance. That's Anthony, and he's showing it right now. And for as long as he shows it, I think the job's his, and you have to go hard into that. And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. But I think this coaching staff and front office, with the ownership transition and where they're at in their tenures, they need to do something significant this year. It's not just improve upon 8 and 9 and squeak into the playoffs or win a bad division and get blown out in the playoffs. It's really taking big strides forward. So I just think if you go 9-8 with Anthony Richardson showing clear strides, that's so much more valuable for this franchise than 9-8 with Daniel Jones just kind of getting you there, but not showing signs of being a contender. So I think it's Anthony's job to lose for sure.
Nate Atkins of the Star got you covered Saturday and Sunday with the morning practices in Westfield, and then off to Baltimore Thursday night for that first preseason matchup with the Ravens in Baltimore. Nate from the Stars on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Have a fantastic weekend, a great time in Baltimore, and we'll catch up here relatively soon. Nate, thank you very much.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
Nate Atkins of the Stars on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. This date 5 years ago was significant for an offensive output. Do you remember? Quick break, come back. I'll tell you that. And a road show has been added next week, and I am very excited about that. Well, celebration, if you will, a day after the golf outing. That and more coming up. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
don't know what the hell's in there, but it's weird and pissed off, whatever it is.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
My friends, this date in Pacers history 5 years ago today. You remember? They were playing in the bubble in Orlando. The bubble team. T.J. Warren James dropped a career-high 53 points in a 127-121 win over the Philadelphia 76ers. Remember the ridiculous kind of Zoom background where they had people watching online? That was the crowd. Yeah. I love it because the Pacers put that up there earlier today, and then T.J. Warren responded on social media on X and said, like throwing a rock in the ocean. Did he mean that's how you remember it, or that's how he felt because he was hitting absolutely everything? He was on fire. I'm assuming because he was on fire. T.J. Warren, 53. The bubble team, James, if you remember, consisted of T.J. Warren, Miles Turner, Edmund Sumner, Jakar Sampson, Domas Sabonis, Oladipo, Nas Long, Doug McDermott, T.J. McConnell, T.J. Leaf, Jeremy Lamb, Alize Johnson, a pair of Holiday Bros, Justin and Aaron, Malcolm Brogdon's tired rear end. Woo! Good God, what were we watching? Brian Bowen and Goga. Can you believe? Like, I think about that team 5 years ago in the bubble and try to compare it at all to what we witnessed this past year. That makes me want to puke. Seriously, that team makes me want to vomit. Lord, have mercy. That's what we watched. And hell, I was excited about it. I bet I was. T.J. Warren, 53. That team. Good Lord. Hey, by the way, I mentioned our golf outing is coming up on Thursday, Legends in Franklin. If you've not signed up yet, do it and be a part of it. It's going to be great. Franciscan Health brings us to you with our fan golf outing. Thursday, beginning at 10 a.m., there is going to be a basketball goal, and I will be shooting you for prizes. Not literally, but figuratively, against you. So basically what's going to be happening is you will not be winning prizes, but it is going to be significant if you can beat me, which you won't. The other way you can really find out is get your ass there with your golf clubs and play. I think we're going to park this bad boy at a turn, and I'm going to be there ready to shoot. Kevin Bowen turned us on to this idea. It's brilliant. But this is your opportunity. And also it gives me the chance to wear my basketball clothes to the golf course, which is awesome. But this is your opportunity to shoot off against me in basketball. This is also your opportunity to look at what you could have won if you beat me in a shoot-off, which you won't. Can't wait to see you guys all down there. This is going to be an absolute blast. So that's on Thursday. Make sure you're a part of it, 1075thefan.com. Imagine these guys in the shoot-off against me. I can't wait. Now, really, you could get lucky and maybe a golf cart runs into my leg or something and hurts me and I have to put the boot on and shoot in the boot. Otherwise, you're screwed. But we're going to have fun. You have never had more fun being screwed in a shooting contest in your life. I promise. Promise. Hey, then on Friday, I talked to Brian on my way to Westfield yesterday. Brian's the owner of Sid's in Noblesville. Sid's on the square in Noblesville. We were there about 8 months ago. That was for a tavern tour stop, and it was awesome. So our good friend Sean Patrick Turley, who is a Smiley bro and who also knows the nation's #1 DJ, resides in this chair talking to you right now, and he's a Smiley bro as well, and they like to rub that into Dave Smiley, which I laugh about. But through SPT, Sean Patrick Turley, Brian reached out to me and wanted us at some point to help them at Sid's in Noblesville to celebrate, James, 80 years.
80 years.
Their 80-year anniversary. I believe 80 is the number.
That's awesome.
So I just heard from Travis. He works for us, with us, I should say. Not for, but with. I just heard from Travis, and we are a go next Friday at Sid's in Noblesville. We are going to celebrate 80 years at Sid's in Noblesville next Friday with Brian and the gang. I cannot wait.
So what does that mean? They started in 1945?
Man, you're asking me to do math, and that is problematic for the fella. I might be able to shoot a little bit, but I can't do nary a single thing in math, brothers. This is going to be great. I'm going to bring the girls out. We'll get Lindsay and Gina up there to have a little bit of fun. Yes! Sid's in Noblesville. That's a week from today. Mark your calendar. So you're going to go back-to-back with me. We're going to shoot some hoop. We're going to play some golf and the fan golf outing on Thursday, and then we're all going to celebrate and tip them back at Sid's, again, in celebration of 80 years. And a shout-out to Brian for reaching out to me, and SPT for getting Brian and I together, and for Dave Smiley for inviting me over to his house. Unfortunately, yesterday when I was in Westfield, he invited me, and I think this was strategically done. He invited me knowing that I was already going back home. But he did invite me over. I'm going to go up there and take now, the only thing I don't know, if I go to Dave Smiley's house and drink, do I have to, all my pictures have to have my mouth open like they all do and act surprised about stuff? Because I don't know. There's no big surprise that I'm drinking. It's all kind of, yeah, okay. It's fun, but there's no big surprise. Sid's in Noblesville. Mark your calendar. Again, back-to-back. The fan golf outing next Thursday. Sid's in Noblesville. And actually, I'm going to give you the trifecta because then on Saturday at the State Fair with the JMV takeover inside the tap room, Michelle Kiefer have sent me a picture of what the tap room looks like. We know we're going to have such a blast. That's a week from tomorrow night at the tap room at the Indiana State Fair, the all-request Saturday night JMV takeover, where Laura Steele is going to join us and do a lot of radio with us. And DJ Skids will provide some mini mixes live inside the tap room at the great Indiana State Fair. That's a week from Saturday. So Thursday, the fan golf outing with Franciscan Health at Legends in Franklin. Sign up 1075thefan.com. Celebrating 80 years at Sid's in Noblesville on Friday with Brian and absolutely everybody out there. That's going to be a blast. And then the JMV takeover on B105.7 next Saturday night inside the tap room at the Indiana State Fair. Back to back to back with us. It is going to be a blast. More on that. We'll close out the show coming up on the other side. But first things first, somebody's going to get 50 in betting, 50 in dining, courtesy of Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. You guys ready? Got your horse? Are you listening? Here it comes. Your Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day, 50 in betting and dining from Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. Austin Smits, the winner. On to Norway was the horse, paid $2.20 on a $2 bet. $2 exacta was $8.60, 50-cent trifecta, $3.50. It is Tuesday through Friday. Weekly, the Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day. 50 in betting, 50 in dining, just like Austin just won, can be yours at JMV 1070. Find the horse, and we do it in the 5 o'clock hour. By the way, horse racing going on now through November at Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. Shout out to Tony Renz and the gang at Harrah's Hoosier Park for always being a part of this show. We appreciate that very much. Indeed. Busy weekend that you asked for me. I'm going to meet Don Fisher, voice of the Hoosiers, at our table here coming up in just a bit. That's going to be awesome. I love our table down in Bargersville with Don Fisher on a Friday night. At Paradise Day Watson on a Sunday, sounds like. So that should be fun. And then next week is going to be spectacular. I mentioned the fan golf outing. We want to see you down, though, so make sure you can get there next Thursday. 10 a.m. things start. Sign up for it right now, 1075thefan.com. There will be a basketball goal. There will be a shooting contest with me and prizes if you beat me. Good stinking luck doing that. But still, give it the old effort right there, okay? Just for me. Cannot wait to see you. I mentioned this a little bit earlier. Sid's in Noblesville to celebrate 80 years next Friday. Fubar Lounge says, I'm off on Friday. That's J-Lo, by the way. Sid's, here I come, indeed. Bill Reynolds says the J-Dog now has an official ID, so I guess we will see you at Sid's next week. I love the RSVPs to Sid's. Gritty asked me this. What is the Upstairs Pub Show down in Bloomington? I want to say that is early September, Grit. That is exciting, by the way, too. And that is a Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila shot. So it would stand to reason it would have to be during the regular season of the NFL. I think it's the first couple of weeks, Grit. And yes, first time ever we'll be doing a live show at the Upstairs Pub on Kirkwood in Bloomington. Rex Hampton says, trade Pittman for McLaurin. I do not believe Washington would have much interest in that. Yeah, I did say beg, borrow, or steal with Micah Parsons. That's something that does interest me. Paulie reminds me that Ballard doesn't have the cojones to take a swing for Parsons. Ain't happening. I'm not suggesting, Paulie, that it will happen. I'm just telling you that I would go and try my damnedest if all of this is true and there is no going back to Dallas. And as much as I like Terry McLaurin, as good as he is, to me, for the Colts, there is a difference here. There is a difference between McLaurin going to a team and making them a legitimate Super Bowl contender, but Parsons legitimizing a mediocre to below team like the Colts. That's what he does. So if there is the possibility, I'd be pouncing all over that opportunity. You know, and Nate Atkins said, well, there are about 30 other teams that have interest. Hey, listen, the clock is ticking, everybody. Why not you? 239-1070. I don't want to forget about him here because he just told me. He just said, John, I'm on hold. Fulton is here. John? Hello, Fulton. Thanks for telling me and reminding me you're on hold.
Yeah, you're fine. Did you see the poll I put on for you?
Did I do what? Where? What? Who?
The poll. The poll, like the voting.
I
voted for it.
I don't think I saw that. Did you vote for me for something?
Well, actually, I was going to ask you if you're going to have any new drinks at the state fair this year.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did not see that, buddy. Are you going to come out to the state fair a week from Saturday?
I might come, yep.
That'd be good, buddy.
And I've got to get ready for my big softball games this Saturday.
You do?
Tomorrow.
All right.
In Greenwood and we have a first game at 9 a.m.
Is it 9
and
9
then a
a.m.?
second
Is it Craig Park tomorrow in Greenwood, or where is it?
Yes, it is. Yep, it's
All
in
right.
Craig Park.
Fulton, I'm going to
You wanna
try
come
my
by and
darndest.
see it?
I'm going to try my darndest to slide by there tomorrow.
Sounds great, John, and hopefully I'll see you there.
Yeah, Fulton, thank you very much. Austin Smith said, did I miss this today? I don't recall hearing it. Austin Smith is your winner, your Harris Hoosier Park race of the day, my brother. Hey, you guys are awesome. James, have a great weekend. Go out there and find yourself a nice vehicle. All right, Andy Moore, Buick GMC. Hey, I will do the JMV takeover tomorrow night. Don Fisher and I at our table coming up here in a bit. Colts happy hour followed by the Fever and Eddie Garrison coming up tonight on The Fan. Enjoy.